Today on What It's Like, 1959 Chevy Parkwood Wagon. But first, a huge thank you to Street Machinery and Classic Cars in Elucid, Ohio for making this in-depth look possible. They specialize in late 50s, early 60s Chevys and X-frame cars. They have an amazing inventory and some awesome cars that are outside those parameters. Link in the description below. Okay, this is a side note, but if you're new to the channel and you like what I do, I would personally like to invite you to hit that subscribe button. Like and share this video as well. This video is going to be a little different than all the other previous videos, and I'm looking for some feedback in the comment section below. What did you like about the video? What didn't you like about the video? Should I do all my videos moving forward like this? Before we get started talking about this awesome Parkwood wagon, a bit of an overview. The 1959 Chevy was designed by Harley Earl and his team. I know what you're thinking. How is that possible? When Earl retired in 1958, his team oversaw production models up to the 1962 model year. So in other words, the designs were good for 4 or 5 years into the future, unless something huge was trending. A lot can be said about Harley Earl and what he did for the automotive industry, but that's honestly another story for another day. By 1958, 14% of all vehicles sold in the US of A were wagons, and the cheapest wagon on average was $200 to $600 more than its four-door sedan counterpart. So Chevy took advantage of this opportunity to make more money and offered 4 wagon trims in 1959. Okay, starting at the bottom of the pile, the Brookwood, it could be had in 2 configurations. You could get it in a 2-door for $26.89 or a 4-door for $27.56. The Brookwood was the only 2-door wagon Chevy offered. Nomad used to be the 2-door wagon, but it only came in a 4-door configuration. We'll talk about that in a minute. Parkwood, 4-door configuration, 6-passenger, which started at $28.67. Up from that, Kingswood, 9-passenger wagon. It started at $29.79. The top of the heap was the Nomad, which was a 4-door wagon now. Used to be a 2-door wagon, and it was a luxury liner, and it was $3,009 starting. All Chevy wagons rode on what was called the X-frame. It first appeared in 1957 in the underpinnings of the new C-body Cadillacs and the Eldorado Brougham. This new frame design made it possible to lower the total vehicle height. The X-frame was eventually used in all GM big cars that had frames until about 1970. So just think about that. Like the Buick Riviera has an X-frame. The Impala has an X-frame. All those big cars have X-frames under them. And this is 1950s. Like this looks like something more modern than that. It's crazy. Let's talk engines. Chevy offered 3 engines. They offered a 235, the 283 V8, and a 348 V8. But lots of different configurations you could get. Base engine, 235, inline 6, 135 horsepower. Then you could step up and get the 283 V8, 2-barrel carburetor setup, 185 horsepower. 283 V8, 4-barrel setup, 230 horsepower. 283 V8 fuel injection, 250 horsepower. It's worth mentioning 1959 was the last year for the ramjet fuel injection offered in a family full-size Chevy. But apparently, if you wanted more power out of a 283, Chevy was more than happy to oblige. 2-barrel setup and a more hopped-up 283, it was good for 245 horsepower. And they offered a 283 fuel injection that was hopped up 290 horsepower. Okay, let's talk about the 348 V8. Single barrel setup, base engine, 250 horsepower. There was also a more hopped up version. They took the compression ratio of the base engine, which was 9.5, and raised it to 10.5 compression. It was good for 305 horsepower. There was also a tri-power version of the 348 that used 3 2-barrel carburetors. It was good for 280 horsepower, and the hottest 348 made 315 horsepower. Side note, this is from 1960, but I love how everything is laid out here. So feel free to pause it, read the brochure articles. It's very useful information to somebody. Chevy offered an array of transmissions during this era. You could get a 3-speed manual. You could get a 4-speed manual on all cars with a 348 V8 or a fuel-injected small block. You could also get a heavy-duty 2-speed power glide. You could get a 2-speed turbo glide. It was available for all cars that had the 283 V8 or the 348 V8. That wasn't hopped up. You could get a 3-speed manual with overdrive. It was available on 6 cylinders and 283s without fuel injection. The overdrive reduced engine speed by 19%. Okay, so let's talk about options. You could get air conditioning, power seats, power windows, cruise control, a vacuum to suck up ashes from the ashtray. It sucked the ashes into a container in the trunk. The Speed speed warning device, illuminated compass, 4-way hazards, rear window defroster. One more side note, and we're going on to the actual Parkwood wagon. I got all these slides from an awesome website called oldcarbrochure.com. Check it out. I'll put the link in the description below. Okay, on to the Parkwood wagon. Okay, let's walk through this dashboard. You got generator and oil. To the right of that, you have your temperature gauge. To the right of that, you have your speedometer, odometer, tells you how many miles the car has driven. To the right of that, gas gauge. To the right of that would be your clock. If you got one, it was an option. Just below that is your ignition switch. And to the left of that is your climate control. Okay, moving right, we have the radio. Moving to the right still, you have your glove box and this beautiful Chevy emblem up top there. The lights and the wipers are located right underneath the generator and temperature gauge. Okay, getting inside the front door. Just check out this interior. Check out these door panels. This is all nice, leather wrapped. There's nice stitching in here. Armrest. This is your door handle. This is your vent window crank. This is your regular window crank. But just check out this interior. Look at the seats. It's like somebody bought this in 1959. Just had the seats covered for the next person. Keep it nice for the next person. So just check out where this fin starts. Fin starts here in the middle of the door and it progressively protrudes outward until you get to the back here, and it's almost like a wave. This looks like the top of a wave. That's really cool. Also worth showing, when you open this door, the door has part of the fin on it. See how that operates. You got ashtrays back here for the rear passengers. This is your door handle. This is your window crank. Windows go all the way down. There are 2 ashtrays, one for each side. We're at the back end of the car. I'm going to show you how this operates. And just look at this. Okay, so this does nothing at all. It's like a fake. This is what operates the tailgate. So first you have to roll this window down. This is the window crank. Once the window is down, it says open, fold, and lock. This does nothing, so to open it, there is actually a handle on the inside here. Right here is the handle, and that releases the tailgate. Just check that out. It's also worth mentioning that the window has to be completely down for you to open this. If you try to open it and the window is right here, it will not open. It will only open if the window is all the way in. Chevy claimed that you could carry 6 passengers with 120 inches of storage space behind the rear seats with the tailgate down. The opening's only 47.6 inches, so you can't fit a 4x8 sheet of plywood in the back. when opening and closing. Check out that latch. So you could option and get a 9-passenger wagon, and this would be where the pull-out seat would be. This one, that's where your full-size spare and your jack is located underneath here. And that has a little arm on it, so that stays up. So if you have to pull the tire out, you can. So putting this back up, it's the same thing, just in reverse. The tailgate on this is super heavy. Like, it's the heaviest one that I've reviewed so far. It's heavier than the Hudson Rambler, and it's heavier than the Chrysler. The Chrysler is probably the lightest one that I've done so far. And then if you want to put this back up, you just roll this back up like this. That is done. And then this only goes back in one way. So see, this has to fit in like that, but notice it's not closed. It only goes in one way. It goes in like that, and it's shut. That's the only way. Okay, so putting down the rear seat, the lever is right here. It's only on the passenger side. You push that in and you pull up. The seat's really heavy, so yeah, and then you just take these out like that. They're spring loaded. Okay, so once you get these little guys flipped up, then this comes off of there. So it gives you a nice, relatively flat loading surface. Here's what that looks like from back. Here's some history about this wagon. This particular wagon's for sale. This is honestly one of the cleanest, probably the cleanest 59 Chevy wagon I've ever seen. So these are the keys to the 59 Chevy Parkwood. In the description below are these the original keys. Check out this key shot. It looks epic. Getting under the hood on this particular model, you just pull this lever here and that releases the hood. You have to do it all in one motion. Otherwise it catches. This one has a 235 inline straight six, produced 135 horsepower, sipped gas through a single barrel Rochester carburetor. This one does not have power steering, and an easy way to tell if it did have power steering, the 59 cars had this weird power steering pump that mounted to the back of the generator, and it was shaft driven. Okay, time to tell you what it was like. It's an amazing wagon. It's an amazing vehicle, period. The interior is awesome, and it was preserved. Whoever bought it brand new put those plastic covers on, and they're still on there to this day. Those seats are brand new underneath, and they're original. Everything about this vehicle is original. Most of the paint is original. There's a couple touch-up spots that they did, but the car's like 70 years old almost. And I forgot to mention that Parkwood is the same trim level, so to speak, as the Chevy Bel Air was in the passenger line series. So it's kind of like middle of the field. Bel Air used to be top trim in 1957. Now it's in the middle of the pack. But just take a look at where those turn signals are in the top of the hood there. These cars are getting harder and harder to find. This one is in pristine condition. This one's almost like 1959 showroom condition. I don't think you'll find a better all-original car. But yeah, give me your thoughts and opinions in the comment section. Don't crucify me, but just tell me what I can do better in my videos or what needs improvement. Did you guys like the backing tracks in the while talking, or do you think that it should be voice only, no instrumentals in the background? I look forward to hearing your input. And until next time, toodaloo!